go in the ZMAX Cars Tour, track position, all of those things matter, but especially here, again, at a racetrack where tire wear is definitely not of the concern. Definitely want to be able to start in a good position. As you can see, coming off of turn number 2, that aforementioned Glass Guy Chevrolet will get us started here. And there are a number of drivers out here competing this week, Eric, that aren't necessarily regulars on the Cars Tour, but several drivers who are up here in the Virginia area for a series that likes to make his home in the North Carolina, South Carolina region, has brought many from the Commonwealth to try and compete tonight, including this driver in the 05 Glass Guys CR Phillips Electrical and McCumbee Capital Partners Chevrolet out of Richmond, Virginia. Say hello to the 05 of Mason Bailey, not his first venture out here to Dominion Raceway at all. In fact, he won the 2023 season opener in late model stock car competition here at this racetrack. Earned his first late model victory at Southside Speedway, about 60 miles south of here in April. Just near Richmond is out of Southside Speedway. So sliding around down to the line, it'll be a scuff lap, first lap, and checkered flag in the air for qualifying here this afternoon. And Mason Bailey, the bar will be set for him at a 15.450, or excuse me, 15.375. He goes a bit faster on that second lap.
Well, we talked about the thrill over finish we had here 1 year ago, and the driver that came out on top is on the racetrack now and taking his time, getting up to speed.
Really taking his time.
This is our 3-time Cars Tour late model stock champion. The driver who comes into this race 7th in championship points, and he has never finished worse than 11th in his 5 prior starts here. This is Sterling Building Group, Black Acid Apparel, WG Speaks, and DreamWorks number 6 from Madison, North Carolina's R&S Race Cars, number 6 of Bobby McCarty. And McCarty certainly did not want to knock the good off his tires on the first time around as he comes down to put a lap on the board. Again, he's only the 2nd car out. The first lap for McCarty is going to be quick enough for a provisional pole. 15.247 for McCarty, who comes back to the line to see if he can improve. And he will. A 15.178. Track record is a 15.012 set by that of Mason Diaz. Blake, we may flirt with that track record here today.
And we were looking at some of the times that these drivers were laying down in their mock qualifying earlier, and in a much different approach that we're seeing here in qualifying. You can almost see the Bobby McCarty roll down on the apron here, as he's not the first driver to really kind of crawl around this racetrack and taking his time, swerving, getting his tires clean, but definitely taking his sweet time to get up to speed is the number 44 for Mike Darn Racing, the Jones Utility Construction Chevrolet out of Fredericksburg, Virginia. We mentioned many of these drivers out of the Commonwealth. Same can be said for the 18-year-old in Connor Jones. But there was a bit of a discussion, Eric, that went along amongst Cars Tour officials about what was going to happen here with qualifying procedures and whether they were going to do a true scuff lap or they were going to count the first lap up to speed. And I think with the result of that decision, you're seeing a lot of drivers who don't want to waste what they may feel that they have in their tires. Second lap around for Connor Jones, going to be just a tick slower than that of Bobby McCarty. So Connor Jones' second fastest of 3 at a 15.216, that number 44.
Next car out on the racetrack, making his 45th career ZMAX Cars Tour late model stock car start. Finished 2nd here 2 years ago after starting back in 18th position. Driving the Hefner's Towing and Recovery JHGD wraps, number 95 for AK Performance out of Dallas, North Carolina. This is Jacob Hefner. Also had to work his way through the field a bit last year as well, did that of Hefner. After starting back in the 12th and the 23rd spot, racing up to 12th. His first lap is going to be 3rd quickest at the line. That is a 15.232 for that of Hefner. We saw Bobby McCarty improve on lap 2. Hefner's going to try the same down to the line. And the checkered flag will fall for Hefner, who slows down on his second lap. So Hefner will remain 3 of 4.
talked about many of those drivers coming in with 0 owner's points and were the true definition of kind of go or go home. This would be the first of those drivers that are grouped amongst all of these qualifiers. Driving the number 97 ALL Construction in Grant County Mulch Chevrolet for CR7 Motorsports out of Maysville, West Virginia. The 97A, this is Jason Kitzmiller. The Kitzmiller family going to be well represented here at Dominion Raceway this evening. Kitzmiller is also competing in Legends cars, and that 97 was fast there, but Kitzmiller is off of turn 4. A little bit of a slide there for the 97A, but so far it goes 4th of the 5 cars that we've sent out, 15.370. We need to pick up just about a 10th and a half to move up the scoring pylon at all, and it looks like it's not going to be the case there for Jason Kitzmiller. So one of those drivers, Eric, that I think is going to be sweating this one out. It's a hot day out here today, but he may be sweating just a little bit more.
One driver who's certainly not going to have to worry at all about how things may fare here in qualifying for the Thunder Road Harley-Davidson pole is our most recent winner, the driver who came out on top in what was the closest Z-Max Cars Tour finish in history last week at his home track at Langley. Also a former winner here, did so back in 2022. He was 5th here last season. He's qualified in the top 10 both times. He's the current points leader in the Autos by Nelson Blue Ridge color and Town Bank number 22 for Nelson Motorsports. Another Virginia native, this one out of Hampton, Connor Hall to the line. And his first lap is going to be 4th. That's about 5+ hundredths of a second off of the lap laid down by McCarty. All trying to hustle that car off the 4th corner and back to the checkered flag, and he will slow down on lap number 2. So Hall may in fact be sweating a little bit to see if he wants to keep his top 10 starting streak alive here at Dominion.
Maybe at Dominion, but the last couple of races we've had, Eric, it hasn't necessarily been qualifying that has been the strength for that number 22 Autos by Nelson car. But come race time, he has been able to move forward several times throughout this year, and plays a great factor in the fact that he is your championship points leader. Again, 2 points on the line here for the Thunder Road Harley-Davidson Pole Award. We'll see if this driver, who has been oh so fast throughout all the practice sessions today, would be able to take claim of that pole award. Driving the number 62 King Custom Panels, Rent Source, and CarQuest Toyota for Kevin Harvick Incorporated out of Supply, North Carolina. This is Landon Lewis coming around to complete his first lap of qualifying, and for Lewis, it's 5th fastest, 15.308 for that of the number 62. KHI enjoyed a great race at Langley a couple of weeks ago as Brent Cruz, who largely dominated that race, led 105 laps, and Lewis also not able, in fact, he will go faster, but he won't move up on the scoring pylon. 15.308 is where that lap will officially be scored, and there you go for Landon Lewis. So 5th fastest, and Eric, as far in terms of the amount of speed we saw earlier, we were looking at 15.0s and whatnot earlier on in the day. Not the case right now, but let's step down with James Pike. What do you got down there, James?
One of the most successful drivers in the NASCAR event series, Peyton Sellers here. And Peyton, a rare Z-Max Cars Tour start for you. You could have chosen anywhere to run in this series. Why'd you choose Dominion to come race?
Like home for us. We've won some championships here and won a lot of races, so we were comfortable here. Just getting used to all this competition in the Cars Tour is going to be the challenge for us here tonight. So I feel like our car's really good. I feel like the track's got a lot of speed in it today, so it's just a matter of me doing my job behind the wheel and being there for 125 laps in this deal. So competition's real stiff here. A lot of good drivers, a lot of guys I've raced with my whole life. It's just I haven't run a lot of Cars Tour races, so this is a good opportunity to get out and try to get our feet wet and at a track that we're comfortable with.
He is one of the drivers that will need to qualify on time, but to his point, he's run a lot of weekly races here, and this is a track that he's got a lot of experience at. So a big notebook to pull from the former Martinsville 300-mile race winner.
And speaking of a notebook, he'll have plenty of that with all the cars that Sellers stable has brought out to the racetrack. You just saw one of them qualify in the 00, and I know we just kind of passed over him, but got to give credit where credit is due. Chase Burrow, Eric, I think has been one of the greatest, I wanted to say surprises, but efforts we've seen on the Z-Max Cars Tour this year. Has done it in a part-time effort out of Kings William, Virginia, and boy, has he impressed in each of his starts. He goes 5th fastest with his qualifying efforts. Has taken the white flag now. You heard from him a little bit earlier. The 23 Velastas Chevrolet out of Full Shear, Texas is Cade Brown. And for Brown, It is 6th fastest on his first lap around, 15.260 for the Matt Piercy Racing entry. Second time around looks a little bit better, and indeed there will be an improvement. In fact, he'll go to the inside of row 3 for now. 5th fastest for the Vlasta Take Lines machine.
Next up on the racetrack is a driver who kept herself busy this past weekend, went out to Michigan to compete in the Money in the Bank 150 at Berlin, started back in 25th spot, and she drove her way nearly to a top 10 effort. Her and her team were super proud of the 11th place finish. They were able to muster home in that prestigious race out there in Marne, Michigan. This is her first Cars Tour start at Dominion in a late model stock car. This is the Chevrolet Wheeler Trucking and Victory Custom Trailers 71 of Dryden, Michigan's Katie Hedinger, whose first lap is going to slot her in 7th spot at a 15.279, about 1/10 even off the quick time in which Bobby McCarty continues to hold down. Hedinger's going to try to see if she can make her second lap her best lap. Unfortunately, that is not going to be the case. As a matter of fact, only about 3 cars so far have been able to go faster on lap 2, and Hedinger will rest on the 7th place effort for now of 15.279.
You can see a slight delay there with Tate Fogelman in that 87 car, who was the next one to roll up. Again, one of those drivers that is looking to get their way in on time, does not carry any owner's points into this race. But Eric, kind of the one thing that I've really noticed looking at the speed charts, and we've talked a lot about this tire and drivers being able to carry a lot of speed late in their runs and practice sessions and whatnot. And as far as what we were expecting to see in terms of time, drivers haven't quite matched that. Again, we were looking at 15.0s and thinking that, hey, we may be in danger of beating the track qualifying record here in the Cars Tour that you mentioned earlier, that is Mason Diaz back in 2022. But for right now, McCarty, who sits at the top of the heap, about 1/10 and a half behind that marker at a 15.178. In fact, he's the only driver that's even hit that 15.1 second barrier.
Yeah, I thought at first when we saw that 15.1 get laid down pretty early that maybe we could see that track record be in danger. And unfortunately for these drivers, the sun is not going to be setting anytime soon in order to increase those chances as our next car does roll out onto the racetrack. This is a driver in which we've seen before here in Cars Tour competition, but this is his first start of 2024. 5th start of his career, and he ran this race last season, but unfortunately had to retire with about 20 laps to go due to a mechanical issue. He's the son of former racer Jay Fogelman, 10-time Pro Cup winner. He's in the Maverick Mulch, Swamp Dog Outfitters, and JFCL Motorsports number 87 is that of Tate Fogelman out of Durham, North Carolina, and his first lap is 11th of the 11 cars that have been out on the racetrack, and this puts him in that danger zone potentially as he gets a little bit loose in the middle of 3 and 4 to think about whether or not they can make the show, and he will not go faster that second time through. So Fogelman is going to be watching the rest of this session with a lot of hope that somebody goes out there and can turn a lap slower than what he put down in that 15.531.
If history were any indication, I don't think it would quite be this driver that is piloting the number 8 Bass Pro Shop Chevrolet for Junior Motorsports out of Mooresville, North Carolina. Recently turned 21 years old at the end of May. This is Carson Kvapil, who has been busy aside from ovals the last couple of weeks. He spent last weekend refining his road racing skills in a TA2 Camaro at Pittsburgh International Race Complex, and raced his way all the way up from a 10th starting spot to eventually finish on the podium. Kvapil's first lap is close to the Thunder Road Harley-Davidson pole. Second fastest for Kvapil at a 15.198. Just needs 2/100ths of a second to try and beat Bobby McCarty's time, but he's not going to be able to do it, although his second lap would have been good for third. Kvapil, second fastest for now at a 15.198.
Next up on the racetrack is going to be the ABC Hosiery and Apparel, number 1 for TG Motorsports out of Youngsville, North Carolina, and Andrew Grady, who comes into this race 12th in championship points. While Grady gets up to speed and comes to kick off his lap, let's go down the pike.
Got Chase Burrow with me, who had a fabulous run at Tri-County Speedway a few weeks ago. And Chase, even though you're not running the full schedule, when you put together a podium finish like that, what does that do for the confidence for you as a driver and your team?
We gain a lot. It's awesome to come out here and run with these guys and do as good as we do. you know, we're on a budget. We don't have the budget to run a full year, so that's why we're doing the partial year. And, you know, to make the best of it, you know, each and every week is all we can do.
Make me wonder, Blake, I know you and I have talked about this a little bit off air. If he were running a full season, what might be possible for this 00 car?
For the 2022 Rookie of the Year, we're all wondering that question because Burrow has been incredible so far this season, as has that of Andrew Grady, who clocks in 10th fastest on his lap. Lap of record is going to be a 15.308 for that of Andrew Grady in the TG Motorsports #1.
Another driver who has continued to impress here in 2024 and is piloting an entry that was awfully strong here at Dominion these last couple of years. In fact, this 77 Chad Bryant Racing entry went to victory lane with Connor Hall just 2 years ago at this racetrack. But driving the number 77 Everum BKFC, an all-rim racing machine for Chad Bryant Racing. Out of Grimsby, Ontario, Canada, this is Trayton Lapsevich with a little bit of a slide off the corner, nearly brushes the outside retaining wall, but for Lapsevich, it's going to be fastest regardless. 15.171 for a driver looking for his first Thunder Road Harley-Davidson Pole Award. Off the corner, let's see if he can improve upon that lap, and he goes faster still, 15.147. A monster lap there for the man north of the border.
I heard Trayton in an interview this past week talking about this race. He really hasn't raced here before, and he said, I heard it's gripped up, it's fast, sounds like my kind of place. And he has fallen right into rhythm, laying down the quick time so far. And speaking of young and impressive newcomers to the Cars Tour, look no further than the car that is on the racetrack right now. Fresh off his second consecutive top 10 effort for the driver of the Hedgecock Racing number 45 out of Simpsonville, Kentucky. This is the Louisville Dryer Hot Mix Parts and Service and Industrial Kiln entry. And this is Bryce Applegate coming down to complete his first time lap, and he's second fastest. Wow. A bit of a youth movement here so far this afternoon, and he only needs about 0.02 of a second to go to pole. Throwing caution to the wind are the young drivers, and Applegate will slow down just a little bit, but a couple of rookies make up the front row for now.
Gotta say that if there's a place where we were gonna have a couple of those drivers end up towards the front, you didn't think it would be a place that is as fast and gripped up as Dominion Raceway, but they have gone and done it. And here's kind of the flip end of that spectrum in terms of experience. Driving the number 16, Aaron Sales and Lease and Elliott Properties Ford from McCumbee Elliott Racing out of Supply, North Carolina. Somebody who, when I talked with him yesterday, just talked about, I have been so busy these last couple of weeks. I've only slept in my own bed once this past week, has been doing a lot of sports car racing, is that of Chad McCumbee, who's had a couple of great qualifying efforts as of late. But for now, it's going to be 7th fastest for McCumbee's first trip around this racetrack. Finding a little bit of speed are all these drivers. 15.232, the lap of record for the number 16. This Ford will go around and will not improve on that second lap. So McCumbee right now solidly in the 7th starting position.
Here comes the current track record holder at this facility. Won the pole here back in 2022. Won his first career Cars Tour race at the Throwback event last year at Hickory. And ever since his tenure at Chad Bryant Racing ended, he has bounced around through several cars, including that of the Junior Motorsports 8 and a fill-in ride for that of Carson Kvapil. Ran a couple of races, filling in for Jared Fryer, for Jimmy Morin, and now teaming up with Mad Motorsports in the Prince William Marina, the Sign Shop and Solid Rock Carriers number 24M for the local native out of Manassas, Virginia. Welcome back to Mason Diaz, who scored a top 10 in this race last season. Let's see what he could do here on his first time lap, and it is 11th fastest. It's a 15.271 for that of Mason Diaz. We talk about his family having a big role in the operation of Southern National Motorsports Park. They just wrapped up their championship season. It's going to allow Mason and company perhaps to shift their focus to racing more. And we love seeing Mason back on the tour. Second lap's going to be a little bit slower, and Mason will remain 11th. But we love having Mason back with us on the tour.
And he will be back in this race again. One of the go-or-go homers, that 24 car, did not have any owner's points with the Sellers Racing Group coming into tonight. So the fact that he's in front of 6 cars will lock him in to the race tonight. coming off of turn number 4 to start his first lap in single car qualifying, driving the 04 Affordable Heating and Air, Bessemer Tire and Auto, and Bassett Gutters Chevrolet out of Winston-Salem, North Carolina. This is Ronnie Bassett Jr., who fought and clawed for an 11th place run at Langley with a car that didn't necessarily drive to his liking, and this will be the car after the crash for his other one that we saw at Tri-County in practice earlier this season that they intend to carry through to the end of the year. Bassett's first trip around is going to be 18th fastest so far, and it will improve to 17th, goes 3/1,000ths of a second faster than that of Tate Fogelman. So Ronnie Bassett Jr. clocks in 17th of the 18 cars that we've sent out thus far.
A veteran driver in the Cars Tour, and that of Brandon Pierce on the racetrack, and what is one of his best racetracks. Although he hasn't won here, he's finished 3rd here twice, and he's never finished worse than 12th. Pierce is on the clock. While he continues to circulate around this racetrack, let's go down to James.
Bryce Applegate put down a blistering lap in that 45 car. And Bryce, you've got a little bit of Legends car experience here. Did that help translate into speed in the late model stock just a few months ago?
I mean, a little bit. I mean, it's still, this track is nothing like I remember it. It's a little rougher than I remember it. I just want to give a huge thanks to all the Hedgecock Racing guys and Stand Still, Hot Mix Parts and Service, local driver company, Industrial Kiln and Drive for allowing me to be able to do this. We're 2 top 10s in a row. We're trying to build on that finish, build momentum in this race.
First year series, but Bryce is growing into it race by race. This may be the best evidence yet that he's starting to figure out how to get around fast at the ZMAX Cars Tour.
So 17th spot for that of Brandon Pierce, as Pike just mentioned, speaking with the young driver who is on the outside of our front row right now. As Blake, here is a driver that turned some heads when his name popped up on the entry blank, one of the best to ever do it here at Dominion.
Absolutely, and again, such a pleasure to have a driver with this racing resume, and especially with his dominance here at this racetrack. Out here at Dominion, competing with the ZMAX Cars Tour, presented by Sound Gear, and the number 26, Clarence's Steakhouse, Danville Toyota, and Sowers Construction Toyota out of Danville, Virginia. Peyton Sellers goes right to the top. 10th of a second clear of Trayton Lapsevich, 15.047. Can he best the track record this time around? He's not going to be able to do it, but a flying lap for the Danville Toyota. The 26 of Peyton Sellers right to the top, and I don't know if any fan in this venue, Eric, is that surprised about that.
We tried to hype up the story that he could possibly miss the show, but obviously he wasn't going to let that happen at all. What a lap by Peyton Sellers. Again, this would be his 3rd career Cars Tour late model stock start, and first since 2022. He's also the current points leader at South Boston Speedway, and now he's vying for a Thunder Road Harley-Davidson Pole Award. Speaking of accomplished and successful veteran racers in this style of racing, how about one of the best we've ever seen in the ZMAX Cars Tour? 2016 Cars Tour champion, the driver who has the most career starts in this platform, making his 5th here at Dominion, but first since 2021. This is, of course, Deac McCaskill, who clocks in 9th fastest in his per-year Tank Lines R&S Race Cars Ford. And the Raleigh, North Carolina native will try to climb further up the pylon. He comes into tonight's race 10th in points as he had a slide to the checkers, and lap 2 will not be better. So Deac McCaskill, P9 for now.
Mentioned a couple of drivers that we are so glad to see back on the tour, and you could say the exact same about this driver. Again, first time that we've seen him back out here since a fiery crash at Tri-County Speedway that put the future of his racing season in peril. Missed a couple of races here at the ZMAX Cars Tour, but found a new partnership with Mainline and Hajoka to be able to support a 9-race effort here back with R&S Race Cars. The number 15 for R&S Race Cars, this is Logan Clark out of Mechanicsville, Virginia. And we mentioned many of the philanthropic efforts that have been going on throughout the weekend. Logan Clark and the Logan Clark Foundation golf tournament took place this past Thursday, raising funds for various charitable efforts both at home and internationally. The first lap here for Logan Clark is going to be 17th fastest, and again with some of the owner's points with the fact that he missed a couple of races, this is a driver we'll have to keep our eye on in terms of where he slots into the field. 17th fastest his first lap, and he is going to run nearly an identical lap time on lap number 2, so stays in the 17th position. And Eric, we turn things over. This is the Minis Mission 125. Going to have a lot of fans cheering for this driver.
The sentimental favorite by far, and with good reason. This also happens to be one of his best racetracks. He has never started worse than 7th, never finished worse than 6th in his 4 prior races. Was a runner-up here back in 2020, but he has an army behind him as part of his mission to not only support this race, but all of the initiatives and charities that are here and represented this afternoon, including the Parents and Children Fighting Cancer, with more than 30 families in attendance. Mini Tyrell coming to the line in his first lap, gets him in the top 5. That's going to be a 15.193 for that Mini Tyrell. And there are several fans trying to root him up to the top of the charts. Checkered flag for Mini, and he will slow down on lap 2, but a great top 5 qualifying effort for Mini Tyrell in what is most likely one of the biggest race nights of his young racing career.
And again, as much as a win would mean for him, he has been quite clear that it is not all about ending up in Cookout Victory Lane here tonight. The wins are happening off the racetrack here at the Minis Mission 125. As Isabella Robusto in the number 55 Mobil 1 Toyota for Lee Pulliam Performance out of Fort Mills, South Carolina, makes her way out. Let's toss it down track side to James Pike.
With Trayton Lapsovich for Chad Bryant Racing. And Trayton, what are your best qualifying laps of the C-Max Cars Tour season? Where did you find the speed to get up that high on the charts?
Yeah, we didn't put any stickers on in practice today. We kind of just worked on race pace, so didn't really know what I was going to have for qualifying, but it turned out it was an all right lap. And yeah, it was a little loose, so I didn't really think it was going to be as good as it was. But I think feeling pretty good about 125 laps tonight in the Everett BKFC number 77.
I feel like that's a pretty strong indicator of what may come if they focus on race. Still qualified that well. Watch out for Trayton Lapsovich in the white 77 machine.
Well, Eric, we knew Lee Pulliam Performance knows how to build race cars, and he has built a fast one for Isabella Robusto. Second fastest, easily would be the best start of her career. Her best start was 6th earlier this season at Orange County. What a lap for Robusto, and there's another LPP Toyota that could very well challenge for yet another Thunder Road Harley-Davidson pole here.
This driver is starting to become a bit of a pole king in that of the Z-Max Cars Tour. Looking for pole number 9, started on the pole here last season and finished 2nd by inches. The best repair company, Folsom Fence Supply entry for Lee Pulliam Performance. Brendan Butterbean Queen with a new track record. Sub 15-second lap time for Butterbean. And he's looking for more. He'll slow down on the second lap. I can't believe lap number 2 was also sub 15 seconds, but Brendan Butterbean Queen with a 14.937 to the top.
Looking for his 9th career pole. My, oh my, what a lap for Queen. It would be his 3rd of the season. And when you talk about drivers, Eric, we continue to talk about the championship standings. Again, there are 2 points available for each of these pole positions. The fact that he may be looking at his 3rd, that's 6 points. That's pretty valuable when points can be hard to come by here in the Z-Max Cars Tour. But another driver that has been oh so impressive and challenged for many of these Thunder Road Harley-Davidsons here this season. As a matter of fact, he got his first one at Langley a couple of weeks ago after starting on the outside of the front row in 3 previous starts, driving the number 29 Mobil 1 Toyota for Kevin Harvick Incorporated out of Hickory, North Carolina. Brent Cruz completes his first lap around here at Dominion Raceway, and unfortunately for Cruz, it is 16th fastest for now. Cruz not able to improve on the position, although he goes a tick faster, so Cruz slotted into 16th for now.
Well, there's been some local flavors sprinkled the top of the scoring charts right now, and we may be about to add another one. This is the 2021 Valley Star Credit Union 300 winner at Martinsville. He's the current late model points leader here in weekly competition at Dominion Raceway, and this is his first race in 2024 after a partial season with the Cars Tour in 2023. He started top 5 here in both of his prior Cars Tour starts, including a front row effort in 2022. 2, and he's never finished worse than 6th. He did so here last year in 2023. In the Pembelton Forest Products, Williams Lodging and Easter Design, number 0 out of Amelia, Virginia, Landon Pembelton. And his first lap doesn't appear to be what they were hoping for in that 0 car. He is clocked in 15th fastest on lap 1 after taking it very easy on the warm-up lap. And Pembelton's second attack is not going to put him any faster. So Pembelton, 15th position on his qualifying effort here in his home track.
And with a couple of cars that are still left to qualify, again, we mentioned top 28 fastest will transfer in automatically tonight. After that, 2 owners' points provisionals will hand out the rest of the 2 spots should a champion's provisional not be needed for a 31st spot. But out onto the racetrack, somebody who has not necessarily been flying under the radar, but had a much-needed run of 6th at Langley Speedway a couple of weeks ago. And the number 15 Leisure Time Reynolds Chevrolet for his family-owned racing operation out of Statesville, North Carolina, the 15 of Ryan Millington, and it's a great lap for him on his first trip around. 5th fastest for the Leisure Time Reynolds machine at a 15:1:67. Is lap number 2 going to be better for that of Millington? He slows down about a 1/10 of a second, so Millington, a great effort, and as far as top 28 times are concerned, that puts Tate Fogelman right on the bubble.
And here's a driver who's another go-or-go-homer, looking to make his Cars Tour debut tonight if he can time his way into the field at a place that he knows quite well. Second in late model points here at Dominion, behind that of Landon Pembelton, who we just saw 2 cars ago, and he's been a long time late model stock competitor in this region. Driving the Trade Point Terminals, Owl Metals, Commonwealth Equipment, number 28S for Scott Lang Racing out of Huntingtown, Maryland. This is the number 28S of Dustin Storm. And Storm's first lap on the clock is not going to get him up into the top 10 that first time around. He clocks in 21st position. Again, you got to be in the top 28 to lock yourself in. So Storm has done that so far. Now looking to climb further up the running order, but it's not going to happen. Local driver Dustin Storm, 21st, with still about a handful of cars left to go.
And Storm, one of 2 go-or-go homers that were left. Now it is just the car that is parked behind the number 11 GXS Wraps and Per Your Tank Lines machine that is parked at the tail end of pit road right now and looking to try and get that car fired up as the discussion goes on with Pastor Joe Lewis, some of the officials and the crew members on that car that are trying to get it fired up to get it out on the racetrack. And you can see a lot of the decals that are on the hood of that number 11 car. This is a brand new wrapped race car, courtesy of GXS Wraps, by the way, the official graphics partner of the Cars Tour. I'm sure that Stephen Dunn will give me a thumbs up on that one, but a really cool banner that is on the side of that race car that is gold in honor of Childhood Cancer Awareness. And a brand new wrapped race car, again, the Flying 11 is always on the side of that Mike Darn racing machine. As again, there's discussion going on. We've had a couple of cars that have tried to get fired up.
Well, we just received word from officials that the reason for the delay is that we were actually notified that medic was located inside of the racetrack. Evidently, medic was called for a situation that is taking place outside of the infield, so they decided to pause qualifying for the moment to allow the medical team to exit the infield of the racetrack. One of the crossover gates here at the Speedway is, as you can see there, at the exit of turn number 2. So they opened the gate to allow medics to get outside of the confines of the racetrack in an effort to respond to whatever the circumstance may be out there, and thus the reason for the pause. So initially we thought maybe there may have been an issue on the 11 of Buddy Isles' car, but it seems as though that this is a decision that is made so that way we could get the right people to the right place.
So a brief pause here again, and hoping that everyone is all right. Again, it's a hot one out here at Dominion Raceway, so if you're hearing us over the PA system, again, it's a beautiful afternoon, but we do advise that you stay hydrated and taking all the fluids that you need to have a fun and safe evening tonight here at Dominion Raceway, as it appears that this brief delay will be over. You can see Brendan Butterbean Queen right now holding on to the top of the charts by over 1/10 of a second. As Buddy Isles Jr. in the car that we mentioned was waiting in the wings to try to get this car onto the racetrack will finally be able to do so. Again, it is Buddy Isles Jr., Davey Callahan, who does not have any owner's points coming into tonight, so he would be a go or go homer, and Jonathan Finley, the 3 cars that are left. In terms of times that have been scored, it is Ronnie Bassett Jr. right now, who is the 28th car that is looking to stay inside that bubble, as Isles will take his time to try and get up to speed, a maneuver that, Eric, we've been seeing a number of times so far.
Yeah, it seems like perhaps the way to go in terms of the mindsets and agendas of some of these teams as Isles gets set to come to the green flag in his race car. Had a long conversation with his spotter, Stephen Dunn, who's also part of the Stickered Up podcast a couple of weeks ago. And Buddy actually comes from a bit of a dirt background, and he has been having a blast in these late model stock cars, even though his car sustained some form of damage up at Langley, at Langley last week with Cody Dempster. The first lap for Buddy Isles, though, is not as solid as they would have hoped for. That's a 15.486 for that of Buddy Isles, who will look to improve coming to the checkers, and he will do so, will that of Buddy Isles, but it doesn't appear that it will be all that much. It is a 15.377 for Buddy Isles, puts himself 27th. That will bump Ronnie Bassett Jr. out of a locked-in spot and put Brandon Pierce on the bubble with 2 cars to go.
I was about to say that's going to be something that you may have to sweat out in terms of the owner's points. And again, as soon as we get official word from Cars Tour officials in terms of the overall lineup, we will give you that information. But Eric, this driver doesn't have owner's points. I don't think that is going to be much of a factor or deterrent for the man that has often been out at this racetrack, making his second ZMAX Cars Tour late model stock start. And already has a start at this racetrack. A beautiful number 41 Papa John's and Bugsy's Auto Body Toyota out of Fredericksburg, Virginia. This is the number 41 of Davey Callahan, and Callahan's first lap is going to put him right on the bubble. 28th fastest for Davey Callahan, 15.382. Wants to find a little bit of insurance before sending the final car out, who is a former winner here in the Cars Tour at this racetrack. Callahan does just that. Up to 22nd, 15.288. So Callahan, who looked like he was going to be sweating out this last car, locks himself into the show. It is now Isles that is on the bubble.
And here's a driver who has gone to victory lane here at Dominion Raceway before, back in 2020. His car owner, Derek Peebles, just clinched the late model championship at Southern National Motorsports Park with Ryan Joyner. This is going to be the second start of the year for this racer out of Bristow, Virginia. In the 4F for Jonathan Finley, who had a mechanical problem in practice and is now trying to race his way into the Minis Mission 125. Down to the line, it's going to be a solid effort that time for Finley, and I believe he may have been able to do so with ease. Jonathan Finley to 10th. He will race tonight and start up in the front 5 rows as he comes to the checkered flag. And Finley will round out the top 10, but that means that for the 9th time in his career and another new track record for the Lead Pulliam Performance 03, Brendan Butterbean Queen is your Thunder Road Harley-Davidson Pole Award winner.
It is his 3rd such case of the season. And again, when we talk about this championship battle and making up all the points that you possibly can, having an additional 2 in your pocket and doing that multiple times, going to be oh so important to how this championship plays out. Again, came into Langley as the championship points leader in hometown and was leading late in that race before some late contact, ending up putting the 0-3 back at the tail end of the field. James Pike's not going to waste any time. Let's hear from a very happy man and somebody who could call this kind of a second home in Brendan Butterbean Queen.
Butterbean, I know you love the road Harley as much as anybody. But to think that not only did your best time set the track record, but your second lap also would have been a track record, and you went sub 14. I saw Lee Pulliam, your team owner, come over here fist pumping as much as I've seen him do in a long, long time. What's it mean to you to not only sit on pole, but be the new track record holder at Dominion Raceway?
I don't think I've ever had a track record, so that's really cool. And, you know, these qualifying poles are keeping us in the points battle, you know, with the bonus point. And I mean, Nation, love them up there. It's just, I'm blessed to drive Elite Pulling Performance race cars, 03 Best Repair Company, Folsom Fence Supply, EliteCars.com, Mincy's Graphics, Toyota Camrys, hooked up with that David West horsepower, Ernest shocks, and you never know what the future can bring you, and I just enjoy every chance I get to drive with Elite Pulling. He's become like a brother to me, and cool to have Isabella up there with us. So 2 LPP cars in the top 3, and thanks to just Dominion's such a cool racetrack. I've never won here. Last year was a heartbreaker for sure, and hopefully the good Lord will keep us safe tonight and bless us, and hopefully we can have a shot to win it. And it's a track I hadn't won at, but I've been close, and man, just like I said, love driving for Elite Pulling Performance. Best team in the late model stock ever.
Want to highlight one point he made, Blake and Eric, the bonus points that you get here. Given how tight that battle was last year, who knows how valuable those may be come season's end.
As Queen, your winner of the Thunder Road Harley-Davidson Pole Award, is going to be very important for that driver. Again, trying to claw his way back into the championship fight. A driver with a ton of confidence. And Eric, he kind of referenced that race that he lost last year in a close battle with Carson Kvapil. Ended up being Bobby McCarty who took it. As just look at the time difference. Your top 3 well separate of the rest of the field.
And Peyton Sellers in his Cars Tour return at his home track. Right up there on the front row, Isabella Robusto continues to be on a tear. Right up there in 3rd. Trayton Lapsmith, Ryan Millington, your top 5. We heard from Bryce Applegate. He's been on a bit of a roll. Bobby McCarty, Mini Tyrell on one of his big nights. Carson Kvapil, Jonathan Finley, your top 10.
Very interesting top 10 at that, as we will try to, again, confirm results in qualifying with Cars Tour officials to tell you who will be starting in our 30-car field tonight. But Brendan Butterbean Queen, your winner of the Thunder Road Harley-Davidson Pole Award, his 9th such of his career. Can he get his 7th win tonight? We'll find out.